Sometimes you just want to be a big gorilla and smack somebody. So we're going to build Donkey Kong in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. First things first, we got to pick a race, and as soon as this race popped up in the Spelljammer book, I knew I had to use it for DK. And it's called a Hadozi. They are just straight up apes, but they have a few little adjustments. Leaning into the ape side, they have a feature called Dexterous Feet. So as a bonus action, you can use your feet to manipulate an object, open or close a door or container, or pick up or set down a tiny object. What makes them a little different than your everyday ape is they have a feature called Glide. They have skin membranes that connect their arms and body. So when you fall at least 10 feet, you can use your reaction to extend your skin membrane to glide horizontally a number of feet equal to your walking speed. And you take 0 damage from the fall. This feels very spot on for DK, especially in the Smash series, as you spin around helicoptering yourself and glide much more gently to the ground. Then the last special feature you get from being a Hadozi is Hadozi Dodge. So when you take damage, you can use your reaction to roll a d6, add your proficiency bonus to the number rolled, and reduce the damage you take by an amount equal to that total. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all uses when you finish a long rest. Then when it comes to a background, between how much you played the bongos and the overall cheesy hamming it up that DK did in the Mario Brothers movie, we're going to choose the background Entertainer. This gives us skill proficiencies in acrobatics and performance, as well as access to a disguise kit, but we'll just throw on a tie and say that's your disguise, and you get one type of musical instrument, so we'll go ahead and get access to those bongos. Then when it comes to some stats, we're going to be pretty widespread. We need a decent amount of strength because you are Donkey Kong, you're a giant gorilla. You need a decent amount of dexterity for the abilities that we're definitely going to want to grab, and then you need constitution and wisdom. So we're going to put 14 points into strength, dexterity, and constitution. Then we're going to dump our intelligence down to 8 and put a decent amount into our wisdom, bringing it to 13. That leaves us with 1 point left over, and without point buy works in 5th edition, we can only throw it into one of the small stats, so I guess we'll just throw it into charisma and it pretty much goes to waste. Then we could put 2 points into one score and 1 point into another thanks to being a Hadozi. So we're going to put 2 points into strength and 1 point into dexterity. That leaves us with a few odd numbers, but we'll address those shortly. Then when it comes to a starting class, like I said, we gotta smack some people. So we're going to grab Monk. When you become a monk, you get access to simple weapons and short swords, but we're going to avoid most of that because we're just going to be smacking people. You get saving throws in strength and dexterity, and you get to choose 2 skills. So we're going to grab athletics because we got the strength to back it up, and nothing else really fits, so I might as well grab insight since we have a decent amount of wisdom. Then at first level of monk, you get unarmored defense. So when you're not wearing any armor or a shield, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier. And at first level, you get martial arts. So now you can use your dexterity instead of strength for your attack and damage rolls with unarmed strikes, but you can still use strength if you want to, which we will. The more important part is that your unarmed attacks are now going to do a d4 of damage, but that damage die increases as you level up in monk. And the final benefit you get from martial arts is when you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or monk weapon, you can make 1 additional unarmed strike as a bonus action, meaning that at first level you can attack twice. Now I just wanted to make sure you can do some decent smacking right off the bat, and there's some other stuff I want to grab right away. So we're going to multi-class immediately into Barbarian. Although I should note that if you wanted to optimize this, you should take Barbarian first, because they have the most starting health out of any class in D&D. So when I put the character sheet for this build up on my Patreon, I'll make sure to include both versions. But when you multi-class into Barbarian, you get access to Rage. You can only rage if you aren't wearing any heavy armor, but that's not a problem because we never plan to wear anything other than a tie, and you can go into a Rage as your bonus action. Being in a Rage gives you advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and when you make a melee weapon attack using your strength, which you can count your unarmed strikes as long as you're using strength for the attacks, you can gain bonus to the damage rolls, which the current bonus for rage damage is a +2. But if you level up enough in Barbarian, it does go up further. We're not going to get there though. And finally, when you have your Rage active, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Your Rage only lasts for a minute, and it ends early if you happen to be knocked unconscious, or your turn ends and you haven't actually attacked anyone since your last turn or taken any damage. The other feature you get at your first level of Barbarian is unarmored defense. So now you have a different option for calculating your armor class. You can only use this or the monk one, they don't stack, but we're going to be relying more on this one because our stats work a little better for it, because this makes it so our armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your constitution modifier. Then at second level of Barbarian, you get access to Danger Sense, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see. Also at second level of Barbarian, you get access to Reckless Attack, So now you can have advantage on all of the attacks that you do on a turn. Only problem is that it gives your enemies advantage on their melee attacks against you. Then at 3rd level of Barbarian, we finally get to lean into more of what makes Donkey Kong, because we get to choose a primal path, otherwise known as a subclass, and we're going to be choosing Path of the Giant. This comes from Big B Presents Glory of the Giants. It gives you access to Giant's Power, allowing you to learn Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy. We can say it's Thaumaturgy so you can bang on your chest really loudly. Also, when you gain access to this subclass, you get Giant's Havoc, so you can transform yourself into a hulking force of destruction. While you rage, you gain Crushing Throw. So when you make a successful ranged attack with a thrown weapon using strength, you can add your rage damage bonus to the attack's damage roll. I wanted to make sure I grabbed that because now you can throw some barrels. But also, at least when it comes to the original Donkey Kong game in the arcade, you were a pretty massive ape, and this feature also grants you giant stature. So when you rage, your reach increases by 5 feet, and if you're smaller than large, you become large, along with anything you're wearing, which is just going to be the tie. Now that we've covered the early days of Donkey Kong, it's time to go back over to Monk. And at 2nd level of Monk, you get access to Key. You have a number of key points equal to your level in Monk, and you can spend them on one of 3 features. Either Flurry of Blows, so whenever you take the attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action instead of just 1. And remember, if you're raging and you're using your strength modifier for those attacks, you can add your rage damage bonus to them. So now, even though you haven't even gotten an extra attack yet, you can do 3 attacks, all of which get that +2 rage damage. Another feature you can spend your key on is Patient Defense, so you can spend 1 key point to take the dodge action as a bonus action. And the final thing you can spend your key on is Step of the Wind, to spend 1 key point to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. The other feature you get at 2nd level of Monk is Unarmored Movement, so now your speed is increased by 10 feet as long as you're not wearing any armor or a shield. Then at 3rd level of Monk, you get Deflect Missiles, so when anybody tries to hit you with a ranged weapon attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the attack's damage by 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your Monk level. And if you reduce that damage to 0, you can actually catch that projectile, and you can spend 1 key point to throw it back at your enemies. And this happens to synergize with your Path of the Giant, because you could use Giant's Havoc's Crushing Throw to add your rage damage to that ranged projectile. Also at 3rd level of Monk, you get to choose a subclass, and we want to be smacking people with an open hand, so we're going to take Way of the Open Hand. This gives us the feature Open Hand Technique. So whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks from your Flurry of Blows, you can impose one of the following effects. You can either force it to make a dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone, or you can force it to make a strength saving throw, and if it fails, it's pushed up to 15 feet away from you, or the final option, which doesn't require a saving throw, which is probably going to be the most useful because your wisdom score isn't that high, which is what the saving throws are going to rely on, but the final option is that the enemy that you attack can't take any reactions until the end of your next turn. Then at 4th level of Monk, you get Slow Fall, so you can use your reaction to reduce any fall damage you take by an amount equal to 5 times your Monk level, but you're not going to have to worry about that too much thanks to your Hadozi Glide feature. Also at 4th level of Monk, you get access to an ability score improvement, so I'm just going to focus on that strength and put 2 points into it, bringing it to 18. Then at 5th level of Monk, your unarmed strike damage increases from a d4 to a d6. You get access to a feature called Stunning Strike, which is probably one of the most beneficial things that monks get, because getting stunned really sucks in D&D. And finally, you get the all-important extra attack. So now you can attack twice as your action, twice as your bonus action if you use Flurry of Blows, and you can add rage damage to every single one of them. Then at 6th level of Monk, your unarmored movement speed boosts from 10 feet to 15 feet, and you get key empowered strikes. So now when you're smacking people as DK, that damage technically counts as magical, at least when it comes to overcoming some resistances. The last thing you get at 6th level is a feature from your Way of the Open Hand, called Wholeness of Body. So as an action, you can regain hit points equal to 3 times your Monk level, but you can only use this once per long rest. Then at 7th level of Monk, you get access to Evasion. So if you have to make a dexterity saving throw, which remember, thanks to your Barbarian levels, you have advantage on, any damage you would take from that dex save is automatically cut in half. And if you succeed on that dex save, it's cut down to 0. The other feature you get at 7th level is Stillness of Mind, so you can use your action to end any charmed or frightened effect on you. Then at 8th level of Monk, you get 1 more ability score improvement, so we're just going to go ahead and max out that strength. Then at 9th level of Monk, you get a boost to your unarmored movement, giving you the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids. The across liquids part might not work too well, but crawling up the side of a building seems a little fitting. Then at 10th level of Monk, your unarmored movement boosts from 15 feet to 20 feet, and you get Purity of Body, making you immune to disease and poison. Then at 11th level of Monk, your unarmed strikes upgrade from a D6 to a D8, and you get another feature from Way of the Open Hand, called Tranquility. So at the end of a long rest, you gain the effect of a Sanctuary spell, and it lasts until the start of your next long rest. But the spell can end early as normal, in case you wanted to smack somebody right in the middle of it. Then at 12th level of Monk, you get access to another ability score improvement, and I'm sure those odd scores were driving plenty of people insane, so we're going to go ahead and round those out, bring our dexterity to 16 and our wisdom to 14. This is going to help the DC for our abilities against enemies, thanks to the boost in wisdom, and our dexterity is mostly just going to help our armor class. Then at 13th level of Monk, you get access to Tongue of the Sun and Moon, allowing you to understand and speak all languages. Then at 14th level of Monk, your unarmored movement speed boosts from 20 feet to 25 feet, and you get access to Diamond Soul, giving you proficiency in all saving throws, which is insanely powerful. Then at 15th level of Monk, you get access to Timeless Body, so you basically just never age, which seems pretty fitting considering how long DK has been around. Then at 16th level of Monk, you get an ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up our Constitution by 2 points. This is going to help our health as well as our armor class thanks to our Barbarian level. Then at 17th level of Monk, our unarmed strikes boost from a D8 to a D10, and we get access to the most important feature I wanted to grab from Way of the Open Hand. It's called Quivering Palm, because I kept thinking about how in Smash Bros, you just stand there spinning up your arm for one wicked punch. And sometimes you hit hard enough just to take somebody out with that one hit. Quivering Palm is one of the best ways to do it, because it is a setup ability for spinning that arm that comes off with a big finisher. So when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 key points. This starts imperceptible vibrations, which we're just going to associate with you spinning the arm around. Those vibrations can last for a number of days equal to your monk level, which is a little excessive, and technically you can end those vibrations harmlessly using an action. But you can also spend a follow-up action to force a creature to make a Constitution saving throw, and if it fails, it's immediately knocked out, taken to 0 hit points. But if it succeeds, it still takes a whopping 10d10 necrotic damage. So no matter what, when you hit with that big punch, it's doing a ton of damage. That brings you to 20th level overall, and I think we covered the majority of the important abilities that DK would have in D&D. If you want access to the character sheet for this build or any of my other builds, feel free to check out my Patreon, linked in the description down below. And in general, I just have some really awesome patrons, just like Natron209, Johnny Dyer, Kevin Shirley, Zephyros, That Funny Man 57, Joshua Maynard, CGC 2014, Afstorm, Elisa Martinez, Panda Milkshake, Ted Z, Andrew Nobles, Carcat, Kitsune, Decker, Joint, Zed13, Viral Naravar, Daniel Galvin, and the Dino 21. Then there's the Dungeon Master level patrons that I play D&D with: Shane Gilroy, Conman ZX, Cyber Society, Talon Starkey, Demiurge, Eric Wade, Salvador, Devin Happy, and Kilo Kilo. Then there's the God tier level patron who goes above and beyond anything I ever expected and contributes an incredible amount that helps me a ton, and that's GameStake. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to play on some bongos, swing that arm around to let out a big old finisher, and play as Donkey Kong in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.